Okay, so in this video I want to talk about simplifying radical equations. So radical equations are basically just any sort of equation with a radical in it. And a radical can be a square root, a cube root. So basically what a square root looks like is it's basically just what you would normally see, just a square root. If you don't know what that is, you should look it up on Khan Academy. And then a cube root would just be the same thing, but you would write 3. And that just, what a square root is getting is what times what equals whatever you put under the square root, and the cube root is just getting what times what equals whatever you put under the cube root. So I'm just going to write this radical equation right here. Let's just do the square root of, so again, we have a square root, that means that it's a radical equation. So we're just going to do the square root of x plus 1 plus 3 equals 4 plus x. Okay. So when we solve this, we actually want to isolate the radical. So like we'd isolate a variable, we're going to isolate the radical first. Okay, so we can isolate the radical by subtracting 3. So by subtracting 3, so we're just going to get rid of the 3 from both sides, right? Because you have to do that in algebra. And we're going to get 1 plus x equals the square root of x plus 1, because we got rid of that 3, right? So the square root of x plus 1. Okay. So now we have a square root, and on the other side we don't have a square root. So now we're going to square both sides so that we can get rid of this radical. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this radical. So let's just square it. Yeah. So we're basically in equations we just want to get rid of the radicals, so we just put it to the power, so we put it squared, and the other side we have to do the same to the other side, right? So we're going to square that too. Okay. So now we have the square root and the square cancel, so we get x plus 1 equals 1 plus x squared, right? And we can rewrite that as 1 plus x times 1 plus x. So just writing it now, 1 plus x times 1 plus x. Okay. So now let's do distribution. If you don't know what distribution is, you can go on to Khan Academy, but I'm just doing distribution right now. It's basically what you have to do when you multiply binomials or trinomials together. So we get 1 plus x plus x squared. Okay. And 1 plus x plus x squared is basically what we get from the distribution. So we're going to set that, and we're going to say all of this is going to be equal to x plus 1, right? Okay. So now we're going to do, we're just going to write it up here, and we're going to simplify it. So we get x plus 1 equals x squared, just putting it over here now, plus 2x plus 1. Okay. So just going to move that over. Okay. So now we just have to simplify it for it with algebra. So what we're going to do is we are going to subtract 1 from both sides so that we can get, we have to get all the x's on one side, right? So how we're going to do that is we're just going to subtract x from both sides so that we can get rid of the x on the left side. So now we get 1 equals x squared plus x plus 1. Okay. So now we just subtract 1 right here. We get 0. Oh yeah, minus 1. 0 is equal to x squared plus x. And then now it's pretty clear what the answer is, right? We can even just rewrite it. And pull out an x. So x times x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, so now you see we have this term, and then we have this term. And this whole thing has to be 0. So what has to equal 0 for the whole thing to be 0? So either x can be equal to 0, right? Or it can be equal to -1, right? Because in the brackets, if x is -1, then that term will be 0. or that whole thing will be 0, and then if that's 0, then that side of the equation will be 0, and our equation will be correct. Another way it can equal 0 is if the left x equals 0, then it will just be multiplying it by 0. So that way we also get the answer 0. Yeah, so that's basically our answer. If you didn't understand anything, then I would suggest you go on to Khan Academy again. Okay. Thank you.